Good morning, good afternoon, colleagues and collaborators. I'm delighted to be with you all at the second regional conference on abortion and family planning in the countries of Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Before I dive into the presentation outline, I just wanted to very quickly introduce myself, as I think I'm new to most of you. My name is Petra Proktер, and I'm a program manager at Concept Foundation based in Geneva, Switzerland. I and my colleagues before me have been working closely with Dr. Rodica for the past 3 years on the excellent work that both Drs. Bati Gul, representing Kyrgyzstan, and Dr. Dilfuza, representing Tashkent, updated the participants on yesterday. And in fact, Concept Foundation has had a long-standing relationship with Dr. Rodica and the Reproductive Health Training Center in Moldova. We've worked together on several projects over the past decade towards improving access to safe medical abortion in the region and also in LMICs globally at different levels of the product access pathway, from clinical research, product registration and introduction, updating guidelines and training for provision of abortion services and care. And I'd just like to take a second to say we at Concept Foundation greatly appreciate this partnership and the more recent collaborations in Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan as we continue to work towards improving access to safe medical abortion drugs. So switching gears a little from the topics we have been covering so far today and yesterday, I'm going to talk today about the importance of quality assurance of women's health for drugs in women's health in the context of all sexual and reproductive health products, but also more specifically relating to medical abortion drugs. So I'll briefly recap on why it is important we continue to strive towards consistently maintaining quality assurance of all drugs, no less for sexual and reproductive health drugs. And I will go over the issues we're currently facing today relating to sexual and reproductive health and medical abortion drugs. We have very, very recently conducted a quality testing study on medical abortion drugs in 12 low and middle income countries, which I will be able to share some top line results from later in my presentation, before finishing with a quick overview of some of the other work that we are doing on increasing access to quality assured sexual and reproductive health medicines and technologies. Why is quality important? I think many of you in the audience know these issues well, so I will try and do this quickly, but I think it's still important to touch on these critical issues. Poor quality products, and this applies to all drugs, can contain excess levels of impurities or degradation products, which is usually a result of improper manufacture, low quality raw materials, or use of low quality starting materials. Excess levels of impurities or degradation products can lead to one or more of the following outcomes. Firstly, we can see an increase in known side effects. And for medical abortion drugs, as many of you know, this can mean intense cramping, heavy bleeding, headaches, pain, nausea. It's quite a long list, and an all-round very traumatic, mentally and physically damaging experience for the patient. We can also see adverse drug reactions, which can be potentially serious and harmful. And we can also see poor content uniformity, which can either mean not enough active ingredient is present to bring about an effect. So an example of this would be in the product oxytocin, used for the treatment and prevention of postpartum hemorrhage, where poor quality product can lead to a lack of efficacy and have fatal consequences. And in the case of medical abortion, it can lead to misoprostol and mifepristone not being effective and leading to unwanted pregnancy. And then at the opposite end of the spectrum of content uniformity, we can have the potential for product overdose, which can also lead to adverse outcomes. So, we're already on the next slide. Great. At a very basic level, particularly for sexual and reproductive health drugs, where we often see intra and inter-subject variability, maintaining quality assurance principles will maximize the probability that the end product is consistently and predictably meeting all quality and design specifications, which in turn dictates the safety and efficacy profile of the drug. Quality is not something that can be inspected or tested into a finished product. It is dependent on proper manufacturing standards being met, appropriate raw materials being used, and appropriate storage and supply chain standards are being maintained. So where are we today with respect to quality of sexual and reproductive health medicines? I'm very happy to report that compared to where we were 10 to 15 years ago, there's been significant improvements to the overall quality status of sexual and reproductive health medicines. This is evidenced by major advances in different areas of the supply chain. So I'll start with at the manufacturing end. Today we see an increased number of generic sexual and reproductive health medicines WHO pre-qualified. Back in 2006, when the WHO pre-qualification of medicines program first launched its first expression of interest for manufacturers of these products to submit to the program, the only products that got through the pre-qualification were the originator products. Today, there are over 50 products WHO pre-qualified, specifically sexual and reproductive health ones, and an overall increased awareness on the part of manufacturers, in particular generic manufacturers, of the WHO PQ program as a mechanism for supplying markets with quality assured products. Moving on to the procurement level, we now see harmonization of international procurement policies, which was not the case about 10 years ago, perhaps earlier. And these policies insist on products meeting quality assurance standards, and social marketing organizations are also now employing mechanisms to ensure quality products are being used wherever possible. And then at the regulatory level, we've seen product registration processes improving at both regional and national levels, and also something we've seen in particular in the EECA region. Finally, at the sexual and reproductive health community level, there is an increased awareness of the consequences of low quality sexual and reproductive health medicines, and there is now an increased focus on importance of balancing affordability and quality. While we feel we're seeing a drastic improvement on the historical quality issues, there are still some exceptions today due to local manufacture of products and supply in domestic markets, and we continue to face major challenges for specific medicines that are of critical importance to women's health. Firstly, starting with maternal health, I've already mentioned it. We are still seeing issues remaining relating to the quality of oxytocin for treatment and prevention of postpartum hemorrhage. These relate primarily to product storage and efficacy, and can seriously endanger the lives of women giving birth who are dependent on this drug. In the case of medical abortion, there has been long-standing issues relating to the quality of misoprostol, and more recently, we're seeing emerging issues with the availability of quality-assured mifepristone. And as I touched on a few slides back, the impact of poor quality abortion drugs can lead to numerous complications, making the product unsafe or ineffective. As we move into providing sexual and reproductive health products like misoprostol and mifepristone through telemedicine and other methods of self-care, as my colleagues have already talked about earlier, the need to resolve these quality issues is greatly magnified. Advancing the self-care agenda is critical to the broader abortion agenda, and therefore must go hand in hand with ensuring the quality of the products that are being provided through these mechanisms. Very briefly, I will, just to recap on the history of some of the issues we've seen with quality of misoprostol. So the graph you see on the left of this slide, apologies, it's mainly for illustrative purposes, so it's not that big. It comes from a study that Concept Foundation conducted in 2000 with UNFPA in 2012 on quality of misoprostol products in 11 low and middle income countries. And as you can see, a significant portion of the products are degrading over time, which impacts product efficacy. And outcomes of additional multiple studies on quality of misoprostol have also indicated similar issues of quality of the product that are of serious concern. So coming back to today, we at Concept Foundation have just completed a study in collaboration with IPPF and with funding from the World Health Organization, Sexual and Reproductive Health Department, and working closely with the Unsafe Abortion Unit. This study was to sample and test misoprostol, mifepristone, and Combivac products in 12 low and middle income country markets, covering 5 out of the 6 WHO regions. The countries, I'll read them out as the slides are in English. The countries included in the study were Bangladesh, Burkina Faso, Cambodia, Democratic Republic of the Congo, India, Kyrgyzstan, Moldova, Nepal, Nigeria, Pakistan, Uganda, and Vietnam. Sorry, you can stay on this slide, but just to mention, you can see on the previous slide, there were some images of some of the products that were sampled during the study. So this study focused on collecting samples of 3 different product types with a minimum 6-month shelf life, as in they were minimum 6 months into their shelf life, sorry. So the products collected were individual misoprostol, individual mifepristone, and then combi packs of misoprostol and mifepristone. The study is not yet final. All sample collection and testing is complete, but this was only completed 2 or 3 weeks ago. So we're still in the phase of final data analysis, drawing final conclusions and completing the write-up of the study, which will be published next year, hopefully. But I can share some top-line results. A total of 64 samples were tested, and of these 64 samples, 31 were combi packs, 26 were misoprostol only products, and 7 were mifepristone only products. This translated to a total of 57 misoprostol products being tested and a total of 38 mifepristone tablets being tested. And of all samples tested, 54.7 were substandard. So they were out of specifications and not compliant with the set specifications. Of the misoprostol only products that were sampled, over 60% were not compliant, indicating a clear quality issue that remains today. Of the mifepristone products sampled, just over 40% of the product sampled were non-compliant with product specifications. Specifically on misoprostol, I will note that the quality issues detected point to issues of improper manufacture rather than poor storage or packaging, which is an improvement on the outcomes and the results that we were seeing of quality testing studies that I mentioned earlier in the presentation. However, obviously, we're still seeing an issue with the manufacturing end. We also detected falsified Cytotec in DRC. This product was supplied by a pharmaceutical wholesaler, which failed initial identification testing. We immediately reported this to the WHO Incidence and Substandard Falsified Medicines team for further investigation. And the incident was also reported to Pfizer, who confirmed that the batch number did not correspond to their manufacturing records, and further investigations revealed presence of the same falsified batch in 2 neighboring countries, in Cameroon and Ghana. And on the right, you can see an image of the alert that was issued by WHO earlier in the year. Before moving on, I would just like to briefly thank Drs. Rodica and Batigul for their support in the sample collection for this study for products sampled in Moldova and Kyrgyzstan. So we greatly appreciated your support there. So for medical abortion drugs, where does this leave us? Today, we're still seeing low quality products circulating in markets all over the world. At the same time, with the global trend of health systems and services needing to access affordable medical abortion drugs, this needs to be balanced with assuring quality and is an ongoing challenge. This becomes particularly challenging in the case of mifepristone due to the high cost of the finished product, which is also due to a lack of available raw material, so the active pharmaceutical ingredient that is affordable and quality assured. Most manufacturers are dependent on manufacturers supplying product from China, which are not meeting quality assurance standards and are often still at very high cost. An overall lack of market competition in the case of medical abortion drugs continues to impose challenges to balancing quality with affordability. We still have too little choice of quality assured products, and we in particular see this in the case of social marketing organizations who continually need to compete on price and are not always able to align with the quality standards and practices that are being imposed by country governments or larger institutional buyers and procurers. So to conclude, in the broader context of sexual and reproductive health medicines and on the importance of quality drugs for women's health, the health, social and economical impacts of continued issues that still exist today relating to quality of sexual and reproductive health products are wide-ranging and can have long-lasting effects. The need for market sustainability with quality assured products is further and extensively magnified by the advancing self-care agenda. Quality of drugs for women's health cannot and should not be compromised to allow for affordability. This ultimately is a false economy. The longer term costs to the public health system and economy resulting from low quality drugs far outweigh the savings associated with purchasing cheaper, low quality products. And on this slide, we're showing a few images from our PPH Stories project, which shows storage conditions of oxytocin products, where we documented women suffering from PPH in India, Nepal, Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. So today, Concept Foundation, I'll leave you with noting the work that Concept Foundation is currently leading or collaborating on to improve quality standards of sexual and reproductive health drugs globally. The first I've already mentioned is the study that we've just finished in 12 low and middle income countries on the quality of mifepristone and misoprostol and combi packs. We're also in the middle of a study testing the quality of oxytocin in Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa and Tanzania, and in 2022 this will be extended to products in Pakistan. We continue to work towards increasing availability and affordability of raw materials of medical abortion drugs. However, this work is currently unfunded, so we're actively seeking funding for this work. At the same time, we don't stop doing this work because it is integral to the broader abortion agenda. We're also working in sub-Saharan Africa with partners on the ground to update clinical protocols for PPH. And finally, next year, we will start a project in collaboration with the University of North Carolina to model out the health and economic impact of poor quality oxytocin and misoprostol using Nigeria, Ghana, and India as countries supporting the modeling. If any of you have any questions on the details of these projects, I'd be happy to answer or direct you to colleagues at Concept Foundation who can answer. So finally, I apologize. I know I'm a few minutes over. Thank you all for your attention, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have in the Q&A session. And once again, I thank all colleagues at the Reproductive Health Training Centre for inviting us to participate in this important conference. Thank you.